Now that Tower of Fantasy is releasing globally, it's time to take a tour of what this anime-inspired shared world RPG has to offer. To do that, here is a short preview of the gameplay and some of the systems to familiarize yourself with before you jump in. When you see Tower of Fantasy, the first thing that probably comes to mind is another popular cross-platform game called Genshin Impact. Obviously, the two games share some similarities, but Tower of Fantasy has a lot of differences too, and we're going to touch on a lot of them in this preview. The one that players will probably notice first is the prevalence of character creation in the early game. Tower of Fantasy lets you create your own character, which includes some fairly extensive customization options. These options include facial and body sliders, eye type and color, accessories, and some pretty cool ways to customize your hair. You can also select your starting outfit so you leave the character creator looking pretty cool from the start. It also doesn't hurt that the cel-shaded anime style is just visually appealing, and the science fantasy themed world provides a lot of cool styles for both characters and enemies. The story for Tower of Fantasy takes players to a planet called Ida, where the main energy resource known as Omnium is both sought after but also extremely dangerous.
They raised the Tower of Fantasy, grasping at Omnium from above. How grand, how ridiculous.
With the capability to turn normal people into aberrations, known as aberrants, which are these mindless, aggressive creatures that have no qualms in attacking you. As you meet new friends and the story unfolds, you are eventually tasked with shutting down these Omnium towers, or else it will overload and bad things will happen. Most of the main story has great voice acting, and if you really take the time to watch some of the cutscenes, it helps you appreciate the world that Hada Studio has built here. Many of the characters that you meet along the way will eventually be able to be owned or earned through the Simulacrum system. A Simulacrum is a way for you to take on the aspects of a particular character. They look like them, they have their personality, and new characters also come along with their own special weapon. This is one of the primary ways that you'll be spending money in Tower of Fantasy. To obtain new characters and upgrades, you're going to have to do that through the gacha system. After you obtain a new character, you don't need to take on their persona to use their weapon, so no matter what you do, you can choose to stay as your awesome character that you designed if you prefer. There's also some story quests where you'll be able to learn a little bit more about the new characters that you can earn, and these are separate quest options from the main story, and you'll find them in the character story quest menu. Combat in Tower Fantasy is actually a lot of fun and deceptively simple. Your character can choose 3 weapons of various types to round out your ability pool. Each weapon has a string of combos that you can perform by tapping or holding the attack button in various combinations, and you can have one special move available per weapon. As you battle with one weapon, you will slowly charge the other 2, and when the charge is finally full, you can then perform a discharge attack by swapping weapons. And by doing this, you unleash an extremely powerful attack. If you want to charge your attack faster, there is a feature for that. Fantasia is a scenario where you perform a perfect dodge, which will slow enemies in an AoE dome around you, and when this occurs, your weapons will refresh their charge attack and you can perform a string of attacks on enemies without having to worry much about retaliation. The Fantasia system is instrumental in doing as much damage as possible to your enemies and battling efficiently. As you obtain more weapons, you'll also start to see that some weapons perform different functions in combat. For example, if you happen to grab a character with a weapon like this energy rifle, instead of attacking with combination attacks, you'll instead battle enemies as if it were a third-person shooter. Strafing and firing and doing damage in rapid succession is the main focus of battling with an energy rifle. The cool thing is that there are a lot of options when it comes to the kind of weapons that you want to use and how those weapons mesh with your preferred playstyle. You can further spec how you want to play with the weapon resonance system. This system gives you the option to choose 2 of each type of weapon, whether it's an attack type, defense type, or healing type, to enhance your specialization in those attributes. You also have a balanced specialization, where you have 1 of each type of weapon on you. Weapon resonance also greatly increases your abilities when you're in a group, so if you want to focus on team play, you can select the role that works best for your team by changing your weapon resonance bonus when you need to. You will also notice that some weapons have elemental effects. You'll be able to burn, electrify, and freeze your enemies once you get weapons that can actually do that. They seem pretty common though, as even rare weapon types have elemental effects, and you'll need them when you start exploring. Exploration in Tower of Fantasy is also really fun. Unlike other games, Tower of Fantasy starts you with some nifty traversal equipment early on. You will be introduced to relics straight out of the gate and be given a jetpack, which is not only convenient, but absolutely necessary. It allows you to get to places you may not have been able to reach by climbing alone. The fun doesn't stop there, as you'll get a lot more relics that will help you do all kinds of things like break open secret areas and surf across long stretches of water quickly. You'll also be able to upgrade your relics and in some cases change the way they look, so if you're into customization, you have a lot to like here. But relics aren't the only way that you can get around the world of Ida. You'll also get vehicles throughout your play, and you can unlock them by obtaining the necessary parts to create them. You'll also be able to upgrade and retrofit these vehicles with new looks later on. The world itself is pretty vast with a lot of areas to explore. Chests are everywhere, and you'll see supply pods on the map that'll provide you a lot of resources, experience, and even some free gacha rolls, so you'll want to explore and find them all. In some cases, you'll find supply pods that are in need of repair, and you'll need to return to them at a later time to access them. There are also trials to complete and secrets to find out in the world, and you'll even find some areas that require cooperation with you and other players if you hope to earn the rewards they hold. This will be a lot easier to do once the game launches because the world will be inhabited by a lot more players, so you have a much better chance of running into people in the open world. Of course, you'll also be able to join in on multiplayer missions that are available in the menu, and you can join a crew, which is basically a guild, and take on bounty missions to increase your rep and earn rewards. Tower of Fantasy is a huge game with a lot of fun to offer people looking for an interesting story, a cool world, and some fun combat. If you enjoyed our preview, head on over to MMORPG.com and read more about our time in game. The link is in the description below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more previews and content headed your way. We'll see you next time.